My name is Margaret Collins. I'm 59 years old, a widow, and I live in a quiet little neighborhood in Oregon. For nearly 2 decades, I've worked as an office manager at a law firm. It isn't glamorous, but it's stable, and stability was exactly what I needed after losing my husband so suddenly when our kids were still teenagers. For most of my adult life, my identity has been wrapped around raising my 2 children, Emily, my daughter who just turned 32, and Luke, my 29-year-old son. Every decision I made, every extra shift I took, every holiday I gave up, it was all for them. My only goal was to ensure they never had to struggle the way I did. So when I saw Emily's name sitting in my inbox last Tuesday morning, my heart lifted. I thought it was just a quick note or a sweet update before her big day. After all, I'd already contributed $30,000 toward her dream wedding, helping her book the venue, secure the photographer, and reserve the florist she'd loved since college. I opened the email with a smile, but that smile vanished almost instantly. There was no warm greeting. Just, Mom. No, dear Mom. No affection. Just a label. Then, the words that made my stomach drop. Emily and her fiance, Andrew, had finalized their guest list for the ceremony in Napa Valley. And after much discussion, they decided it would be best for me to watch the wedding through a live stream. Not in person. She explained that Andrew's mother was very particular about the guest count and wanted to keep things intimate. And then, almost as if mocking me, Emily ended with, "If you want to be a part of it, you can watch through the Google Meet link we've created. Should be just like being there." LOL. I sat staring at that screen, my coffee growing cold beside me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Something inside me shifted, quietly, like a deep crack forming in solid ground. I typed 4 words in reply, words that would echo louder than any argument or plea. "Sure. Enjoy your big day." And with that, I closed the laptop. Because I knew, at that moment, something far more important than a wedding had changed forever. The next morning, I drove to work in silence. Oregon's spring air was cool, but I barely noticed. My mind kept circling the same question. How did we get here? For 18 years, I've given everything to my children. After their father died, I stood in front of our old washing machine with bills spread across the counter, trying to figure out how to pay for groceries and Emily's upcoming college deposit. I didn't think twice about giving up vacations, skipping birthdays, or working weekends. I told myself, there will be time for me later. But later never came. Every penny I saved went to Emily and Luke. When Emily switched majors and needed more credits, I paid. When she chased a short-lived job across the country, I covered her deposit and her ticket. When Luke wanted to buy a house, I co-signed the mortgage and wrote the first $10,000 check without hesitation. I never kept score. That's what mothers do, right? But that email, it made me feel like a transaction. Useful until I wasn't. Like I had an expiration date. At the office, my boss Robert stopped by with a latte from the cafe downstairs. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said kindly. I wanted to tell him my daughter had just disinvited me from her wedding, but instead, I lied. I told him I hadn't slept well. That small act of kindness nearly undid me. After all the noise in my head, it reminded me I still mattered, even quietly. Around lunch, my phone buzzed. Emily again. Then another message. And another. "Mom, please answer. We need to talk. This isn't funny." But I didn't respond. For once, I let the silence stand. Maybe it was time to stop being the one who always answered. That afternoon, I made a decision. Not to scream, not to beg, but to act. Instead of driving home after work, I pulled into First Federal Bank. Carlos, the branch manager, smiled warmly as always. I sat down, placed my purse on the floor, and spoke calmly. I need to cancel a wire transfer. He blinked. The one to the Napa venue? Yes. That one. It was $50,000. Money I had intended to add on top of the $30,000 already spent. $80,000 for a wedding I wasn't allowed to attend. I signed the papers without hesitation. By the time I left the bank, my phone was full of missed calls, 9 from Emily, 2 from Luke. One voicemail simply said, "Mom, please don't do this." But it was too late. For the first time in years, I wasn't breaking. I was drawing a line. That evening, my doorbell rang. I almost ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me. Standing there was Luke, still in his work clothes, his tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. His face was tense. "Mom," he said, stepping inside without waiting. "Why aren't you answering your phone?" "Emily's freaking out." I shut the door behind him. "Hello to you too." He started pacing. "She says you're not coming to the wedding now. That you're being difficult." I let out a laugh, sharp and bitter. Difficult? For not attending a wedding I was uninvited from? Luke froze. He didn't know how to respond. So I kept going. And for the record, I already paid $30,000. I was about to give $50,000 more. That's not tradition. That's a business deal. His face went pale. "Wait, you were sending another 50? Was," I corrected, sipping from the glass of wine I'd poured earlier. "But not anymore." Luke's voice rose, frustration spilling over. "Mom, they're counting on that money. The venue, the food, everything depends on it." "Not my problem anymore," I replied evenly. He ran his hands through his hair. "Of course it's your problem. She's your daughter. And I'm her mother," I said quietly. A mother who was told to stay home and watch from a screen. That silenced him. For a moment, he just stood there, shifting uncomfortably. Then his words turned sharper. "You always make everything about yourself." Something inside me finally broke free. My voice was calm but firm. "Get out of my house, Luke." "Mom, you heard me. Get out." The door clicked shut behind him. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. The next morning, I woke to 43 missed calls and a flood of messages from Emily. At first, they were guilt-laden pleas. "Mom, why are you doing this? This is childish." Then panic seeped in. "The venue just called. Payment didn't go through. We're going to lose everything." Andrew's parents are furious. By 3:24 a.m., she sent the one line that revealed everything. "I don't understand why you're doing this to me." Of course she didn't understand. Emily had grown up wrapped in my sacrifices so tightly that she never questioned where her comfort came from. She just assumed it would always be there. But not this time. Without my support, the perfect Napa Valley wedding collapsed like a house of cards. The venue pulled out. The florist dropped them. Even the caterer threatened to walk. Andrew's parents were livid, blaming Emily for proving them right about me. And for the first time, my silence was louder than their noise. A few days later, someone appeared on my porch. Not Emily, not Luke, but Sophia, Emily's childhood best friend. She stood there with hesitant eyes. The same girl who once spent weekends baking cookies in my kitchen and giggling through sleepovers with my daughter. She's a mess, Sophia admitted, her voice low. They lost the venue. The florist backed out. Andrew's parents are threatening to cancel the whole wedding. I poured us tea and listened. Eventually, she asked softly, is there anything Emily can do to change your mind? I paused. For years, I had begged for scraps of attention, for appreciation, for love that didn't have strings attached. Would an apology fix it? Would desperate words erase decades of being taken for granted? No, I said finally. There isn't. Sophia looked down at her cup, nodding slowly. I get it, she whispered. And in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even hurt. I was simply done. The wedding never happened the way they had dreamed. Without the money, they scrambled for alternatives and ended up with a small backyard ceremony weeks later. Just a few relatives, Andrew's parents, nothing more. I wasn't invited, and this time, I didn't need to be. In the weeks that followed, Emily sent me one last long email. Half apology, half justification. I read it once, then archived it. Not with bitterness, but with peace. Because I had finally closed a chapter I should have ended long ago. And I discovered something no wedding, no rejection, no betrayal could take away. Freedom. I go to work. I read novels. I joined a pottery class. I spend dinners with friends who see me, not what I can give them. And I've made a new rule for myself. If my presence is negotiable, then so is my effort. You don't have to burn yourself to keep others warm. If this story resonated with you, share it, comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Because sometimes, the strongest kind of love is the one you finally give yourself.